Gundam.tk presents Wing Gundam. Hey, what's up everybody? It's Robert184 from Gundam.tk and I'm back with part 4 of my review of the Master Grade Wing Gundam. And while you're here, don't forget you can check out part 2 for all the box instruction and details, and part 3 to take a look at all the parts before they all got put together into this. But anyway, let's take a look at the constructed Gundam parts now. Once this is all put together, you're going to get the legs with the feet attached, you're going to get the waist section, a lower chest part here, the chest itself, the arms are attached to the shoulders when you build them, you're going to get a shield, the buster rifle, one beam saber, one extra green part, you're going to get the head unit, of course, always appreciate it when they give you that, a tiny figure of Hero Yui, the wings of course, and a whole bunch of extra fist parts. So now let me walk you through the parts in some detail, because especially I'm going to compare it to the high grade 1/100th, and you will be incredibly impressed with how far they've come with their engineering in 15 years. Now this model, like all the models I review, is unpainted because I'm lazy, to be honest, but people have been asking which tools I do use, so really quickly, a good set of plastic nippers are worth every penny you spend on them, and a modeler's knife, that's how I get rid of the excess gates, tweezers for putting on stickers. The best $2 you'll spend is buying a gray and a black lining marker. I also use some green paint for the clear parts and a green Real Touch marker to touch that up. And if you buy yourself a set of Gundam markers, when you cut off the red, yellow, and blue parts, if you have discoloration, just shave them off with the modeler's knife and apply a little bit of paint. And I use Q-tips and toothpicks when I'm smoothing out my lining. I just wanted to show you here what I painted before putting it all together. So from the A-plate I just cut off the jewel for the chest and the sensor for the shield, and I just used the Tamiya Color X25 clear green that I bought for my 00 kits. And I just, I covered the sensor all over the place, but for the jewel I just painted the top because I'm going to be putting the sticker underneath. But that just gives you an idea. If you spend $1.50 on this paint, hopefully this will look pretty good once it gets put on. Something I don't usually do is show you the inner frame before I put everything together. So here we have a completed leg, but I wanted to show you this one just before I sealed it all up. Also, I haven't put on this cap here so you can see the insides, but anyway, this will just give you an idea. You'll notice that the bottom part here is separated, and that's going to be used in the transformation, and something that actually is easier to understand when you have it apart like this. So anyway, you'll notice that the knee is very free moving and it pivots there and it can slide up and down, and then this part can bend, and of course the knee can bend, so we're going to be able to get the 90-degree bend, and you'll notice how everything slides very, very smoothly. So when you're putting this leg together, you will be impressed with the inner frame. It's also a little bit easier to see it if you want to transform this into bird mode. What you're supposed to do actually is bring the leg up, and then when you bring the knee forward, eventually what happens is you'll notice that this bottom part slides in, and then you can put everything down into the proper place. But it's something that you have to bring the whole leg up before you're actually able to slide this. You can't push it in directly. Once it's sealed up, you'll have absolutely no problem keeping everything in place. Again, you just have the smooth movement there, including the separate moving knee, and then you're just going to slap on 2 side pieces here. You're going to slap a part on the back and 2 parts around the thigh and 2 separate parts on the knee, so you're still able to move this and have the knee move independently. Finally, before putting the leg and everything together, you'll notice that the ankle armor here, you just have a pivot point there, so it's not on a ball joint on the inside, but that's just going to plug in like this, and then you'll plug that into the foot, so you are going to have a fair bit of mobility here with the double ball jointed ankle. When the leg is all put together, you'll notice for mobility, first of all, at the top, it bends 90 degrees there, no problem, and when you swing this forward, you'll notice that the knee comes up automatically and there's a bar holding it in place, and then you can also play with this and bring it forward even further to hide the inside of the knee mechanism. On the bottom, when you put this together, this is actually a panel line on the split, which was actually done well because they left a little bit of a groove on one of the pieces and none on the other. So you can just line that before you put it together and then clean it up with an eraser. But also, I did line on the split here, this back part, you'll notice will open up on occasion here, just depending. Anyway, and when this opens up, you can notice where I've put the inking in there, so that wasn't always the best. On the left, you'll see how heavily lined the high grade 1/100th leg has to be, and the ugly seam lines down the front, but when you look at it in terms of mobility, there's just absolutely no contest that the Master Grade, in addition to its sleekness, just looks that much better overall. For ankle mobility, you're able to bring the foot this far forward, this far back, and of course this is going to bend as part of the transformation. And off to the side it's fairly impressive with the double ankle. You can bend it that far and that far. And if you hear that clicking, sometimes you'll notice that this back part does open up on occasion. The waist section is fairly impressive on this. First of all, when you put together the front plates, you'll notice that there are parts inside, and that's great because it shows through. There are holes here that show these gray parts there. You can put some lining on there. But again, a very minimalist lining there, and I just went over it with a Q-tip, and you can choose to put in some thick or dark lining there. And these are also gray parts underneath the white parts. The blue part is primarily just one big part, but what's different about this is that it has a bend mechanism inside that is able to swing this up, although it does fall off on occasion, and we'll use that in the transformation. The back is just one solid blue piece with a gray guard inside. So as you look around this at this overlined thing where I abstained in a few places, lots of channels. This one has its own special gray thruster. These parts do not move or bend up at all, although we do have independent moving skirts. This one is clearly that much better designed. The chest unit is looking very good, although you'll really notice here the yellow instead of the gold that comes on the high grade 1/100th. And as I mentioned, I painted this in green and I put the green seal underneath, and I'm pretty happy with that effect. When you put this in, you're actually going to get 2 points of mobility here, similar to the ankles, when you plug that into the waist section. But overall, everything here is looking pretty good. The cannons here are in gray because you put the blue frame around that. I put some black lining on those gray parts before covering them up. And the cockpit hatch opens. This is where you'll attach the wings. The shoulders, similar to most master grades, do pop out on the side, so you're going to be able to bring the arms across the chest a fair bit, which is great to see. And the chest, actually, this is a white part up here, not a sticker. And to open up the cockpit, you're going to bring that forward and then bring this blue part down. And once you've done that, you can slide this up, and you're also able to open up this blue part and see a little tiny green shirted Hero Yui inside. Compared to the high grade, we have a white sticker at the bottom, solid gold pieces here, so you can't put separate lining underneath. You do get a cool looking 3D jewel, although this does have a 3D effect. This one looks good, and that horrible white sticker, and you have the cannons up in the top, which are just molded in blue as part of the chest. The arms are really interesting, but I do have a few small complaints. First of all, these white parts on the shoulders are very easy to dislodge, so and because it's white underneath, you might not even notice that that falls off, so be careful that you don't lose those parts, or pop some glue on there to keep them in. The shoulders, one thing I was disappointed about is that when you put this white part around here, you actually line there's a part underneath here that's in white. And so you line that to make it look gray, but why didn't they just give you a gray part to put this white part over the top? That was poorly done. As for these yellow parts, you're going to have to put some lining in there, otherwise they just look too yellow, and again some lining there to really make it look best. Anyway, for mobility, this spins around all the way, a little bit hindered, but not too bad. And if the claw's up and out of the way, you're able to bend the arm there, and all the way up. So let's call it a 135-ish. Anyway, the claw itself actually can pop in and out here. You'll notice that it goes up and down depending on where you want to put that and if you want to lock it around the rifle. But it is 2 parts, so if you choose to put lining on, you're going to be lining between 2 parts instead of one solid part again. And I'll show you this during the transformation, but unlike the high grade, the hands do not go inside, but this part opens up here, and then you're going to be able to move the claws into place. But you actually take the hands or the manipulators off. They do not hide. You can see the clear difference in size here with the high grade on the left. The gold really does stand out, and there's again a lot more lining there. And you'll notice that this is a sticker instead of being a blue part, and the claws here are actually separated by space instead of just separated by a lining marker in this case. Really quite a bit to talk about, so I'll wrap up this part of the parts here, and anyway, stay tuned for the next part where I'll wrap up all the parts, and then we'll get around to actually putting this together. Anyway, hope you're enjoying the comparison of this with the high-grade Wing Gundam. Robert 184, Gundam.tk. If you like the vids, rate, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for lots more. See you next part.